This episode is brought to you by Netflix. 3 couples, 4 vacations, a lot to unpack. Watch The 4 Seasons, a new series starring comedy favorites Tina Fey, Steve Carell, Will Forte, Coleman Domingo, and more in a hilarious and heartfelt love letter to long-term relationships. Based on the original Alan Alda film. Watch The 4 Seasons, May 1st, only on Netflix.
That moment when you realize your skincare is actually working. That's Rodan & Fields, the #1 female dermatologist-founded skincare brand in the U.S. Designed by 2 dermatologists who don't just know women's skin, they know how to formulate for it. Rodan & Fields, love what you see. Tap the banner or visit rodanandfields.com/Spotify to get your exclusive welcome offer.
We off?
30 seconds of carefree bliss.
Oof, like wind in your hair carefree.
Oh, like using Clorox Disinfecting All-Purpose Cleaner in the home carefree.
Yes!
Like dog slobbing on the coffee table and cleaning it with Clorox Carefree.
He's on a roll now.
Spit toothpaste on the faucet.
You got it. You got it.
Peanut butter on the light switch.
Oh, spritz, spritz.
Spritz, spritz. Clorox, man. Clean feels good.
Okay, we're back.
Use as directed.
EVO. This series contains adult language and depictions of graphic violence. Listener discretion is advised. In December 1985, Mark Heel, then a teenager living in Sussex, England, underwent a traumatic exorcism performed by an elder from his parents' evangelical Christian church. Longtime listeners might remember my interview with Mr. Heel for Season 2 of The Devil Within, The Demons of Yorkshire. Back in '85, the elders believed that Heel was possessed by demons, reflecting the intense religious fervor and fear of occult influences prevalent during that era. This personal ordeal occurred amidst the broader context of the 1980s Satanic Panic in the UK, a period marked by widespread hysteria over alleged satanic rituals and cults. I've covered the Satanic Panic in depth from many angles over the years. Heel's experience was deeply intertwined with this cultural phenomenon, as he later discovered when he came across a newspaper clipping about a man named Derry Knight, a man who claimed to be part of a secret satanic group and deceived many, including religious leaders, into giving him money to combat supposed satanic forces. The Sussex Devils, a true story of the 1980 Satanic Panic, is a book written by Mark Heel, and it's a compelling exploration of a largely forgotten episode in British history, where faith, fear, and deception converged during the height of the Satanic Panic. Published in 2015, the book delves into the infamous case of Derry Knight, a man who claimed to be a high-ranking member of a clandestine satanic cult that operated at the highest levels of British society. Welcome back to The Devil Within. You're listening to The Devil's Conman. It began as many great moral frenzies do, very quietly. In the somber villages of Sussex, hedgerows drowsy with fog and parish bells tolling with the weight of generations, there was little to prepare the faithful for what would come in the spring of 1984. Yet history, particularly the history of belief, has always thrived in places like this. In lands where memory is long, guilt is inherited, and truth is shaped by fear as much as fact. Derry Knight was a man out of sorts with the common rhythms of Newark, a small, respectable English village with a proud church, a tidy little pub, and a minister beloved for his quiet certitude. Knight, who strode into the lives of the congregation with a gaze both haunted and holy, spoke of devils. Not metaphorical ones, not the sort found in sermons or parables. These were demons of flesh and sulfur, entrenched within Britain's elite, members of parliament, landed aristocrats, even clergymen, bound in shadowy rites to an ancient evil. He told the congregation that he had once been among them, a servant of darkness, a blood oath initiate into a secret satanic brotherhood operating beneath the thin skin of English civility. His conversion to Christianity, he claimed, had been perilous. Satan, who gives no gifts freely, had marked him for death. The only way to sever his ties to the occult, Knight explained, was to destroy the regalia, ritual items of diabolical power, under proper ecclesiastical supervision. And this, of course, would require money. Lots of money. At first, it was a few £100 collected in faith by Reverend John Baker, a gentleman of deep conviction who believed he was aiding in the rescue of a tortured soul. Then came the thousands. Funds were drawn from parishioners, then friends, then strangers across southern England. Knight was charming, articulate, and above all, he was convincing. His detailed accounts of ritual abuse, of demonic pacts, and pentagrams carved in secret chambers played directly into a growing global hysteria. The satanic panic that had spread like wildfire from American daycares into European courtrooms. By the end of his campaign, Knight had raised over £300,000, a staggering sum for the mid-'80s. To the faithful, it was simply the cost of spiritual warfare. To the skeptic, it was a master stroke of manipulation done by a seasoned con man. In Knight, we can find the ideal anti-hero, a figure born not just of his own ambition, but of the slow tectonic forces of culture and myth. Because in England, belief runs deep, deeper perhaps than even logic. The bones of saints lie beneath abbey stones. Tales of witches are still told in cottages where the hearth burns low. And in the 1980s, as economic hardship gnawed at old communities and traditional faiths struggled to hold sway over the chaos of modernity, the devil made a convenient adversary. Yes, Knight was eventually exposed as a fraud. Investigative journalists and skeptical clergy uncovered discrepancies in his background, contradictions in his tales, and eventually evidence of financial misappropriation. He'd never been a Satanist. The regalia he claimed to destroy were fabricated. The elite network of occultists he described existed only in his imagination. Or perhaps more accurately, in the nightmares of a society already primed for fear. He was sentenced to prison, his web of lies unraveling before the same public he had once mesmerized. But the story didn't end there. The damage had been done, not only to bank accounts, but to psyches. Reverend Baker's reputation was left in ruins, his faith shaken. Parishioners who had given freely of their hearts and wallets were left with the slow-burning shame of having believed too much. And yet, to scorn these people is to misunderstand the era. The 1980s were a time of deep anxiety cloaked in moral certainty. The world, it seemed, was coming undone. In England, Margaret Thatcher's policies were reshaping the class structure. In America, televangelists warned of a spiritual war raging in daycare centers and rock concerts. Into this storm walked Derry Knight, armed with the very language of apocalypse. He knew his audience. He gave them evil they could see and fight, a devil who wore tailored suits and sacrificed children. He turned metaphysical horror into something tangible, something manageable. In this, he was not merely a con man. He was a mirror. The satanic panic didn't spring from nothing. It was the culmination of decades of suppressed doubt, of fractured communities, and the slow decline of religious authority. People longed for certainty in a world that no longer provided it. Knight gave them that certainty. He offered narrative cohesion in a time of moral disarray. That it was false barely mattered, because it felt true. There are traces of Knight's deception in older histories. The witch trials of East Anglia, the possessions in Loudun, even the medieval blood libels. Each time, a community seized upon a phantom enemy to explain their discontent. Night simply updated the wardrobe of the devil for a new generation. In later reflections, author Mark Heel, the survivor of evangelical exorcism, recognized in Night's tale a troubling continuity. As a teenager, Heel had endured a ritual deliverance from supposed demonic forces by a church elder. Decades later, researching the Derry Knight case for his book The Sussex Devils, Heel realized how fear, cloaked in piety, could become a tool for control. His personal journey parallels the arc of the entire Satanic Panic, a descent into paranoia followed by the long climb back into clarity. So what then do we make of Derry Knight? History is never about individuals alone. It's the collective mythos of a people. Knight was one man, but his fraud was a collective act, born of thousands of small permissions, the turnings of blind eyes, and desperate hopes. He thrived in the silence of those who didn't question and the fervor of those who didn't doubt. In the end, it's maybe not the devil that we should fear, but the ease with which we summon him out of loneliness, out of anger, out of the need to believe in something, anything that makes sense of the senseless. Derry Knight didn't bring Satan to Sussex. He merely reminded the world that Satan never really left. The folks at Mint Mobile have a hot take. Getting a summer bod is out. Getting your savings bod is in. This spring and summer, we want skimpy wireless bills and fat wallets. And with premium wireless plans from Mint Mobile for just $15 a month, you can have both without breaking a sweat or your bank account. I ditched my legacy wireless carrier after 20 years. I live in LA, I work a ton in New York, and I travel all around the country because my kids are athletes. And everywhere I go, the calls are crystal clear. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you. All plans come with high-speed data, unlimited talk and text, and they're delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Ditch those overpriced plans and get 3 months of premium wireless service from Mint Mobile for $15 a month. This year, skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get your summer savings and shop premium wireless plans at mintmobile.com/devilwithin. That's mintmobile.com/devilwithin. Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month 5GB plan required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track. And ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
Ladies, you'll end up shopping for your guy's deodorant, right? So try Degree's Original Cool Rush. You see, last year, Degree changed the formula, and men were mad. One guy even started a petition. So Degree admitted they messed up and brought the Original Cool Rush scent back. It's clean, crisp, and actually smells like someone you want to cuddle. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So toss one in your cart and find out why it's the best-selling men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory.
Parents of tweens, if you're familiar with far-off drop-offs...
Dad, stop, right here.
Or get DMs about what's for dinner, you may be experiencing tween milestones. For your son or daughter, these can start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention against certain HPV-related cancers, can start then too.
For most, HPV clears on its own. But for those who don't clear the virus, it can cause certain cancers later in life.
Embrace this phase. Help protect them in the next.
Ask their doctor today about HPV vaccination. Brought to you by Merck.
To understand the power of how a religious con man can destroy lives, I'm going to share with you a journal entry from Reverend John Baker, the man who was first convinced that Derry Knight's story was true and convinced his congregation to not only believe the same tale, but to open their, quote, hearts and wallets so that Mr. Knight could do God's work and fight the satanic cult that had been able to infiltrate English society to the highest levels. Newark, Sussex, November 18th, 1989. From the Journal of Reverend John Baker. Today I walked the length of the church nave twice, once in silence and then again aloud, reciting Psalm 130 as I moved slowly past the pews that once brimmed with song and fellowship. Out of the depths I have cried unto thee, O Lord. The words held more weight today than they ever have. They fall into me like stones into deep water. It has been 3 years since Derry Knight stood at the lectern and told us that darkness had wrapped its fingers around the throat of England. 3 years since I, a man of the cloth, took his hand and promised him sanctuary and faith. 3 years since I led my flock, God help me, into delusion. I believed him. That admission still shames me, though I speak it to no one but these pages. I believed him when he spoke of black masses beneath stately manners, of children bruised by shadows, of a satanic cabal so brazen and ancient it had burrowed into parliament and pulpit alike. It was not merely his tales that persuaded me, but the need they answered. The need to believe that our fight as Christians was still meaningful, that we were defenders of a holy cause and not just aging shepherds in quiet parishes, no longer needed by the world. But evil doesn't always wear horns. Sometimes it wears a handshake. Sometimes it even borrows scripture. I remember the night he told us he needed the money. He spoke in tears, said he had escaped, yes, but that his soul was still bound. Cursed, he said, tethered to the rights and objects of his past. He asked only for help to destroy them, to be free of Satan forever. I opened our coffers that night, and more than that, I opened my heart. My God, I opened the doors of this sanctuary. And the people followed me. They gave what they had. Widows gave pension money. A builder gave a month's earnings. One young couple newly married dipped into the savings for their first home. We passed plates on Sundays and left jars by the choir stalls. We raised money as if it were blood needed for a transfusion. And then it broke. The reporters came first, then the police, and soon the cruel arithmetic of deceit revealed itself. There were no rituals, no occultist elite, no dark relics, only a conman whose lies were precise enough to sound prophetic, and a congregation whose fears had been expertly read. I have not preached of spiritual warfare since. How could I? I live now in a world of penance. I still tend the garden behind the vicarage and hold services on Sundays, but I'm a quieter man, more cautious in my convictions. I find the Lord now not in triumph but in humility, in the silence after the hymn, in the parishioner who returns despite it all, in the hands of the old woman who forgives me every time I bring her communion. Sometimes I wonder where Derry is now. Prison, I know, but perhaps already reinvented, casting his net again among the willing and the wounded. But mostly I wonder what part of me wanted to believe him. Was it my pride? Was it my yearning for relevance in a world that had moved on from parables and demons? Was it my loneliness? I don't know. I only know that I must never again mistake fear for faith. The Lord teaches us through fire and through silence, through ruin and through grace. I have been through the fire. Now I seek his silence. Tonight I will light a candle not for deliverance, but for discernment. Lord, may I never again walk by sight alone. Reverend John Baker. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone who you think might also enjoy it. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify and rate and review the show. Maybe leave a comment. Check out our socials at The Devil Within Pod on Instagram and Facebook. And we have video content on Instagram and Facebook. And check out our videos. We have video content now on Spotify as well as on... And check out our video content on Spotify and on YouTube. Until next time, stay safe out there. The Devil Within is an EVO production, recorded live at Bel Air Studios in Los Angeles, California. For The Devil Within, I'm your host, Brandon Morgan.